WOVU LP, Cleveland.
This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Greetings and salutations. Vince Robinson here with another edition of Open Door. At this point, we are recording live for radio and television. I am happy to welcome to Open Door no stranger to Cleveland. He just told me that he was actually raised in the South for 10 years, and then he migrated to Cleveland, Ohio, and he's been a favorite son of Cleveland. His name is Jeffree Charles. He is a singer, songwriter, and air personality now in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to Open Door, Jeffree Charles.
What's going on, Vince?
It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
I saw you a few months ago when you were part of a production that occurred in Cleveland Heights at the Civic. You came in for the R&B Legends Awards, hosted by Dennis Cash, and we were treated to a performance. But you've probably been quite busy since then. So what has Jeffree Charles been up to?
Well, that was an amazing event, and had a lot of fun and got a chance to see a lot of old faces and, got a chance to perform on stage. I hadn't singing that particular song to 99 live for probably 30 years because I've been recording so much other music. And that was my actual first recording that was released. So to answer your question, since I got back to Atlanta, I started recording. I was concentrating on my radio station and trying to get it up to par and sounding right the way it needed to sound. That launched in July 2020, right there in the thick of the pandemic. In fact, if it wasn't for the pandemic, there probably would be no J Groove Radio, so that was a good thing for me. And now I would say 16 months in, the station is doing well. Listenership is really picking up. I want to thank everybody from Cleveland for being supportive. I resurrected For Lovers Only. So it gave me an opportunity to get back into that as I pretty much retired from the school system. Yes, I was a teacher for about 10 years. And when pandemic came, I decided not to go back into the classroom. And of course, being stuck in the house, I concentrated on writing and I concentrated on getting the radio station tight because it is a music station with various shows from various other DJs. So that's basically what I was doing. So when I got back to Atlanta, from that event last May, I pretty much just finished up a few songs and I just released a single on March 11th.
Okay. And you told me that the video is going to be coming out real soon, and I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to share that video with the listening and the viewing audience.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you mentioned the radio station. How can folks listen to it? How can they get to it?
Well, it's a live 365 powered station, as many stations are today, internet radio. You can download the Live 365 app, which I usually prefer and suggest because you get the better sound. And then just search J Groove and it'll pop in. Now, there's also a link. If you go to my Facebook page, you can just click on the link. But again, the app is probably going to be the best way to go.
And that's the Live 365 app.
Live 365 app, yeah. J Groove Radio. Say it with me now. J Groove Radio.
I got you.
Yes.
Say it a few times and it will definitely stick.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So on the onset, I mentioned that you were actually grew up for 10 years in Atlanta and you migrated to Ohio, to Cleveland, and you gave me some of the details as to why. I just wanted to dive a little bit into your Cleveland experience. You know, you mentioned For Lovers Only, and For Lovers Only is kind of like a brand. I mean, you know,
Yes.
radio stations
Yes.
across the state, across the nation are probably using that in some form or fashion.
Right.
Talk about the beginning of your career in radio. How did that happen?
Well, I got to start with the record shops and that kind of stuff, because Mom was a real entrepreneur. Like, when, you know, the opportunities that she wanted weren't here in Atlanta. So we migrated to Cleveland. I was about 10 years old, you know, have two siblings older than me and two sisters that are younger than me. I'm right in the middle. So when we came to Cleveland, it was culture shock for me, you know, because of the weather, the snow. This is back when there were real winters, you know, real winters. And, you know, I got used to it, settled in, you know, started going to school and that. But I think when I was around about 15 years old, Mom, she had dual businesses. She had a beauty shop, and then she had a record shop, and she sold wigs. And we had a record shop down on Euclid Avenue, right there on the corner of, was it Auburndale and Euclid, right around between Auburndale and Lakeview. And back then, they had the surveys for the radio stations. So we would have those from WJMO. And, you know, some of the DJs would hand deliver those to the record shops. So, you know, I don't remember exactly what DJs, particularly back then, but I think it started when a DJ named Rudy Green would come to my mom's beauty shop and pick up his wife, because Mom did her hair. So, you know, he would come and pick her up, and we would conversate and that kind of thing. And he would be like, well, you know, if you'd like to come down to the station and watch me while I'm on the air, you can do that. So one afternoon I went down. I can't remember what shift he was on. He might have did afternoons or something. And the station was probably 1 mile away from the record shop. So I went by, I watched him on the air. And man, when I saw him in there, sitting there and talking to people, I was like, oh my God, I got to do this. You know what I'm saying? So I knew very early what my path was going to be. And I think after I graduated from high school, I did like 1 year of college, you know, Ohio State. Didn't like college. Had a full-time job at a company called Parker Hannaford. You know, sometimes you have to do other things to realize what you don't want to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so after that, I enrolled at Ohio School of Broadcast Technique. I think I was like 19 at the time. And that course at the time was about 6 months. Taught me a lot. And fast forward to, I'm going to say 81, I got a job at WZAK. And this is when the station was on Prospect Avenue. I was the very first African-American hired at that radio station. I was pretty much a kid, man. And I went in and they hired me as a board op. So I board op for about 2 years. And then one day I turned the radio station on. They didn't even tell us it was going to happen. I started hearing black music. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I talked to the owners. That was Zen Zappas, and Zen mentioned, "Well, Jeffrey, yeah, we're flipping to urban format."
From what?
From it was an international format. Like when I was a board op, we had different personalities, different nationalities, Slovenian. I produced his program, him and his wife, the late Zen and Lula Zappas. They had a Greek program. There was a Spanish program. There was a polka program. There were all these different nationalities, different programs. So I would board op on the weekends. So I would come in on a shift probably at around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I would be there till midnight, just, doing the various shows. And I recall there was one jock, I can't remember, I think his name was Mario or something like that. He spoke in a different language. I can't remember what his nationality was, ethnicity. But he would give me an opportunity to play one record on Saturday night. So he would let me spin my record, and I got a charge from that, man. It charged me up. But then again, fast forward to the first program director. It was not Lynn Toliver. It was a guy by the name of Harry O. Harry O came in. They had a different kind of programming. They weren't using turntables anymore. They were using reel-to-reels. It was something new, where when one reel stopped, the other reel would start. That didn't last too long. It didn't work out. So they went back to the turntables. And then eventually, Lynn Toliver came in and they hired him as the first real PD of WZAK. So that's how it started for me.
That's a fascinating story, and I want to get back to the adventures of Jeffree Charles and Lynn Toliver. I know you got a lot of stories to tell about that.
Oh yeah.
So and may he rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Definitely an icon, and there are a few other characters that were involved in that scenario too, and we'll talk about them when we return.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Open Door on 95.9 FM with Vince Robinson. This is Open Door. My guest is Jeffree Charles.
Yes,
he
indeed.
is a singer, songwriter, air personality, and he's sipping on some tea right now. We're going to get right back after this.
Hi, this is Wanda Harris from Warrensville Heights, Ohio, and you're listening to the best radio station in Cleveland, WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Now back to Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is singer-songwriter and air personality Jeffree Charles, and we're just reminiscing about the early days of 93 FM WZAK. Jeffree just told us that he was actually the very first black employee at WZAK. They had some kind of international format going, and then one day they flipped a switch and it became urban radio.
Absolutely.
Eventually, Lynn Toliver became the program director. Pick it up from there.
Well, I think Lynn came from MCA Records as a record rep. I don't believe he was on the air at the time, but he had been working for MCA Records. So when this opportunity came, of course, he grabbed it. Very talented, very blessed program director, genius program director. Now, they start hiring different air personalities, DJs, if you will. I remember Lynn Cannon. These are names that jump out at me. A guy named Maxwell who did mornings. A lot of Clevelanders may remember him. Then there was Ken Allen. Then there was Joy LaShawn and Eric Faison. Now, the For Lovers Only thing came a few years later. After ZAK was becoming very popular. So Eric Faison, he worked from 7 to midnight. And Toliver came up with the name for Lovers Only. But the first jock who did that show was Eric Faison. And when he pronounced his name on air, he went, Eric Faison.
Yep, I remember
that.
I remember.
So Eric quit. I don't know what happened. And to this day, Eric never needed a job. He's just one of those kind of guys who just he picked his own path, and when he didn't like it anymore, he was done. So I remember Ken Allen coming to me. He's like, man, you need that spot. I'm going to talk to Toliver for you. So Ken Allen actually, convinced Toliver to give me the full-time position, 7 to midnight. And I became the For Lovers Only host at that time.
Okay. There was one other person, his name just came to mind, and that was Ralph Poole.
Now, Ralph came later. Ralph, because I think Ralph may have started like I did. Well, I started part-time, and I was driving the station van, and doing a lot of promotions and stuff like that. And then I had a weekend shift. But when I went full-time, I think that Ralph came in on the promotional side. And because you have to remember that Ken Allen was the first dual host with Lynn Toliver to do just the two of us. It was first Lynn and Ken. And then I don't know if either Ken might have got fired or something. We'll get to that part, because I worked for WZAK 3 different times. So Ken may have left or what have you. And then I think that's when Lynn put Ralph on. So it became just the two of us with Ralph and Lynn. Okay.
That's interesting. You said that you worked there 3 different times. Tell us what
happened. Which means that I had to be fired 3 different times.
Okay. Well,
or twice. Hired the first time.
Yes.
Fired. Hired the second time. Fired. Hired the third time. Fired.
Okay. So how does it happen after someone has let you go and then they bring you back and then let you go again? What did that look like?
Frustration for me. Because see, the thing is, in Cleveland, there was nowhere else to go. And I must say, because, and this is not to reflect on anything negatively about Lynn or anybody at the station, they always told us, even in broadcasting school, that you're only as good as your last job, and eventually you will get fired from radio. That's just how it goes. Now, you have a lot of jocks who may tell you, that's a bunch of crap, but, we'll debate that. But I know for me, I've seen many jocks come and go, and I was one of them. So I think the second time I went over to the jazz station, and I had been there for about 6 months or so. The ratings were not as good as they thought with me coming from Lovers Only. And I think the program director and management there thought that the numbers are going to be a whole lot bigger than what they were, because I had some of the largest numbers in Cleveland radio at that time. We took down the giants like WMMS. Nobody took down WMMS. So the station, as the station grew and became number one, I would debate that there's many air personalities out there right now that pull 17.5 and 20 and 21 shares in their shot, in their slot. I mean, it's totally unheard of, because you have more competition now. But see, the thing about the Cleveland market, we never had any competition because we unseated WDMT FM 108. They were no more. You know, they shut it down because when WZAK hit, we hit hard. You know, and it amazes me to this day, Vince, that there's not another urban in Cleveland. You know, when there's room for one, there's room for another black radio station. And I'm not talking about hip hop. I'm not talking about, Z? I'm not talking about Z because they're all up under that Radio 1 umbrella. I'm just talking about another black radio station never came into that market to challenge WZAK. So that was the case back then. But I must say that I knew what I brought to the table. Because see, your contract was always based on your success, and I got bonuses all the time, you know, because of my ratings. But then again, if they let you go and they know that you have nowhere else to go other than out of town, you know, I never left. I always wanted to come back to Atlanta. That was always in the scheme of things for me. But I had to wait for the right timing. You know what I'm saying? So in 94, when they fired me this time, and I didn't do anything wrong, it just felt like it was something they wanted to do. I came to Atlanta, and I basically came in as a part-time announcer. But I knew that if they gave me a shot, now this is a WALR, KISS 104.7 at the time. They later became KISS 104.1. But I knew that if they gave me an opportunity as a part-time air personality, that I would flourish and make my own way. And I had been in Atlanta for about a year in 94. And then they made me full-time in 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can definitely relate to that thing about being fired. I had 4 jobs in radio, and I think I got fired 3 times, including when I was working at WJMO.
Okay. You know what? I forgot to tell you. The last time that I was hired back at WZAK, I worked at WJMO for a very short period of time. Now, they were about to flip to another format because the Zappases bought JMO. So I was actually on the air. I think it was a Saturday morning or what have you. And walking through the door is Zen Zappas. He sits down right beside me while I'm on the air. And he says to me, "Jeff, this is a sinking ship." I said, "Huh?" He said, "Yeah, we need you back over on the other side." So at that point, they had bought the station and they knew that they're going to change. You know, they had to drop the urban format for an AM, you know, so that's what they did. And in 92, I went back to ZAK for the last time. So that's how that happened. I always wanted to work for, at WJMO just to say I did.
Right.
And it happened, you know.
Okay. So 4 jobs in radio, got fired 3 times, and the last time was the last time. I worked at WERE, and they changed their format. They were taken over by different owners. Someone from Detroit came in and bought the station, and they cleaned house, and they said goodbye.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time. So, but fortunately for me, I found another job. The job was outside of radio. I worked in insurance for 27 years. Right. And the whole time I was still involved in radio and television. So it all worked out in the long run. And thanks to that job in insurance, I was able to buy my house and a whole bunch of other things. So everything worked out, but
Right.
it was just a joy to work in radio, man. The pay wasn't that great, but I had a ball doing what I was doing, and I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. We're going to talk about your experience in Atlanta radio when we come back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You're listening to Open Door on 95.9 FM WOVU with Vince Robinson and my guest, singer, songwriter, and air personality, as we just found out, Jeffree Charles. We'll be right back after this.
She's having fun. She says you don't want to be like me. Don't want to see.
Yeah, no offense, but what were we just listening to?
Oh, just something my previous writer wanted to hear. Want something else?
Yeah, actually, for sure. Can you switch that station to 95.9 FM, please?
Yeah, for sure. What kind of station is this?
What? You're not hip to 95.9 FM, BBC Community Radio? They have so many good shows. Whether it's a talk show, music show, it's so much good information on this station.
Yeah, I'll have to keep the dial right here then, since I drive so many different walks of life every day.
I literally listen every day and find out something new. Whether it's something for myself, my community, or just something special that's going on in the city.
Yeah, thanks. I'll keep it locked right here on WOVU 95.9 FM.
Good, because I'm sure you and all your other writers would love this station just as much as I do.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson. My guest is Jeffree Charles. He is an air personality. He's got his own radio station going on right now. We're going to tell you how you can listen to his show and others on his station in just a few moments. But right now, let's talk about your emergence on the Atlanta radio scene.
Okay. When I moved to, or I should say back to Atlanta as an adult after many years in Cleveland radio, I landed at WALR KISS 104.7 in 94. And I stayed there for 8 years. Made a name for myself in Atlanta. And I did a show that was similar to For Lovers Only. We simply call it Slow Jams. And that's what I did for 8 years straight until I left there in 2002. Yeah.
All right. So now you're going up against Al B. Sure in Cleveland with your radio station?
Well, you know, WZAK is a staple, man. They are a historical radio station. I wouldn't say going up against I'll Be Sure. I would say with my own radio station, J Groove Radio, that I'm pretty much blessed to have the listeners that I have. And you know how it is when it comes down to internet radio. It's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of marketing, a lot of promotions that go. I mean, things are so different now, you know, because you can't jump in the car and turn the internet radio station on. I mean, you can through Bluetooth, you know, through your phone and your Bluetooth in your car. But it's just different from terrestrial radio in that, you know, you're challenged with breaking old listening habits. You'll never break those habits because, you know, black radio, people are habitually getting in their car and turning it on. And now you have Sirius XM. You just have so many different options to listen to music. So that becomes a challenge. So it takes stuff like this and people like Vince Robinson to put me on a platform where I can promote my station. Because if you listen to my station, for example, if you listen to my regular programming on my station, because I am an R&B station, my moniker is Irresistible R&B from today and back in the day with a touch of smooth jazz and hip hop. That's what I do. Now, the station is 24 hours, live streaming and some of the best R&B music you ever want to hear. And I usually pick those songs that I can program that you don't hear a lot on the other stations, you know. but you'd have to listen to understand what I'm saying. I'm live on Sunday through Thursday from 9 p.m. to midnight. No, I'm sorry. 9 to 11, Sunday through Thursday, for lovers only. For lovers only is a little different after 35 years in that I don't just play ballads. I play what is considered a love song, but it could have some tempo to it. It may bounce a little bit. It's not as sleepy. You won't get bored. So if you listen to my show between 9 and 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, you understand what I'm saying. Then I have other programs on my station. Of course, on Friday night, I have a live jock, Chico Renfro Jr. He's really big here in the Atlanta area. So he broadcasts live with the party set at 10 p.m. every Friday and Saturday night. Then, of course, I have my Sunday programming, which is really good. A couple of talk shows. Chuck Conway Jr., who's in Cleveland, he's on my station. So he does his Golden Wax at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. And then at 7 o'clock, I have a jazz show. His name is Othello, and he does a real smooth, eclectic mix of smooth jazz from 7 to 9. Then at 9 o'clock, Sunday nights, I come on.
Yeah. So that's really amazing, that you can make an impact and offer what you offer. As you were telling us what you have on the air, I was just wondering how what you do could be different. And you definitely expressed how it's different. And I really appreciate the fact that you play the songs that others don't hear, because I'm just going to share something personal with you, bro.
Yes, sir.
I used to listen to For Lovers Only and the shows that came after that. And if I heard that song Always and Forever one more time, man, it was like, you got to play that song every night. I mean, I love Heat Wave, but that song.
No. And the thing is, we've gotten older. The people who like Always and Forever, Enchantment, Blue Magic, Stylistics, the list goes on and on and on. We're older now. Now, I'm not going to tell my age right now, but I like the younger stuff. So what I do is I take like the top 30 R&B ballads or up-tempo love songs, if you will, and I mix those in with, a few little 80s here, more 90s, because I don't want to get too old. It's not a classical R&B show. It's the kind of show, my For Lovers Only today is geared towards the demo of 35 to 60. So if you're 35 to 60, you should enjoy my show.
Okay. Another thing that I was wondering about was how you measure your audiences. How do you know how many folks tune in during different periods? In the ratings game, they would give you that information, but internet radio is a little bit different. So is there some kind of way that you measure your audience engagement?
My geographical metadata, I can look right on the screen and see exactly how many people are listening to me at that very moment. But I can't split it up and say I have this many people in the Bahamas, this many people in Cleveland, this many people in Chicago, Philadelphia, Africa, Brazil. I can't split it up. So, as I look at the map, I can see through the dots of the metadata who's listening to me at any given moment. But I can't tell you exactly where they are. Now, I'm trying to get my listenership up in Cleveland. But again, that's why I ask for supportive Clevelanders to come to the radio station, listen to it, for about 20 minutes. Best time to listen, I would think, for those who are familiar with what I bring to the table, is probably about 8:30 before I come on. So listen to that a half hour, going up to 9 o'clock. And if you listen to me till about 8:30, it's going to be difficult to turn me off. But again, life is so much more complicated than it was back then. People have so much to do. There's so many other options for listening to music. And, most of the time, with Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all that stuff, you're probably watching movies. So pulling people in the evening hours is a blessing. And I just want people to check me out.
Well, I'm sure they will. Hopefully, after they watch this, they'll get a clue that perhaps they want to tune in. I know that some folks are turning away from television. I just happen to be one of those. So I'm always looking for other things. I have Spotify playlists.
Right.
I might have, 24 hours of classic R&B. I made a song list a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And I listen to the things, like you say, the things that other folks don't listen to. And another thing that I've discovered is not the samples, but the original song.
Right.
When hip hop took off, at a certain point, folks started sampling, and they would borrow 8 bars or 4 bars of a song, and that's all you would hear.
Right.
But then when you listen to those full songs, songs like things that Curtis Mayfield did and James Brown did and a lot of others who were heavily sampled, when you listen to that full song, it's like, wow, what an experience. We
Right.
were really deprived when we just got those first 4, because there was so much more to that song. So the fact that you can play that whole song now and people can appreciate the full song, it's really a blessing. And you're not stuck in the same songs that are in heavy rotation on
Right.
stations across the country. And the other thing, too, I wanted to allude to this, is the fact that when you look at who's listening to you, you're not just limited to people in Atlanta. You have people who are listening to you all over the world, and that's really got to be a blessing for you. We're going to talk about your career as a musician, because I know you got to Atlanta, you were doing radio and everything, and then you decided to launch your wings, and the next thing you know, we're seeing you on stage in Cleveland, right, singing, live band playing, and all that good stuff. And I know, as a fellow musician, I know how exhilarating that is. So we're going to talk about your musician life when we come back. You're listening to Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU. We're having a fascinating conversation with this air personality and multi-dimensional artist on the radio right now. We're going to get back to that conversation right back. 95.9 FM WOVU is a Burton Bell Car community radio station. Back in a moment.
Cleveland, we know you have something to say. We know there are things on your mind you've been itching to get out. Call the WOVU Talkback line, 216-200-7848, and tell us what it's all about. Tell us what's bothering you. Tell us what makes you happy. Tell us what you want to hear on WOVU. Call or text the WOVU Talkback line, 216-200-7848. This is WOVU, our voices united. We can't do what we do without you.
This is 95.9 FM WOVU, a Burton Bell Car community radio station.
Welcome back to the final segment of Open Door with Vince Robinson and my guest, Jeffree Charles. He is an air personality. We talked about his radio station doing great things around the world as folks are tuned in. Let's talk about your career as a musician. Now, I don't know that we knew you as a musician here in Cleveland. Perhaps we did. I might have missed that. But you got to Atlanta, and obviously things took off. So tell us about how your career as a musician launched you into this place where you are a singer and songwriter first and an air personality secondarily.
Well, I was actually singing as a teenager. I had groups. We had a group called the Animations. Everybody had the group, back then, the Deltones and all those guys and Dennis Cash and everybody. But, one of my favorite groups was the Imperial Wonders. So I would go and see them perform. We go to WHK Auditorium and this is way before radio. So I caught that bug early on because, of course, Mom had the record shop. So I was responsible for ordering the 45s and albums that we sold. So I couldn't get away from that music thing, man. It's like, so we put together a group. We did some talent shows and did that kind of thing. So I always said to myself, once I decided that I wanted to be in radio, that I was going to use radio as a catalyst to do my music. So it actually turned out that way, but it didn't for a long while. Like I had to get my feet wet in radio first. And then you have to understand that, if you're an artist or a would-be artist working at a radio station, a lot of times you're not going to get that support from management for your music. So it's like I'm recording music. I got serious about it around 92, 93. And I'll tell you a little story. In 93, it's almost like I was preparing for another chapter because I was in the studio recording some songs. And there was a guy who went to Shaw High School, and I can't even remember his name. Shame on me. But he said, man, if you're struggling financially trying to get your music recorded, because I was trying to finish this album, I didn't know where this music was going to go or whatever. He said, then I know a couple who they donate and they write it off on their taxes every year. As it turned out, this couple was a white couple that owned a furniture store. It was an office furniture store, huge store down on Carnegie somewhere. So he took me down there and I met them and I talked with them. And they were like, yeah, we helped Steve Harvey. We gave Steve Harvey some money. And, he's gone to Hollywood or wherever he went. And they heard one of my songs, just one song, heard one of my songs. They wanted me to do a full album of remakes. And Will Downing jumped on that. And as I look back on it, I kind of wish I had followed their advice, but they were like, well, because I did Latest Greatest Inspiration. I remade it, and it had a bounce to it, and they liked it. And man, they wrote me a check for $20,000. I knew them for about 2 weeks, so they wrote me a check for like $20K. So I got to finish the album. I did a video. And then by the time I got fired from WZAK, I was ready. I said, I'm going to go to Atlanta. I'm going to give me a deal. I came down to the A after being on the air for about 6-7 months. There's a label called Success Records that signed me, and they put that album out. It was already done, and they were impressed with that. They liked all the music. Of course, we lacked airplay that we needed but it did good in the UK. And I had a song called Private Time, which you can still get today. That was like the lead off single on that album. And that's how it started for me. So I always recorded music. Then being on air here in Atlanta, it gave me the opportunity to open up for artists like War. I opened up for Will Downing, opened up for Anita Baker. I mean, those opportunities would have never came had I stayed in Cleveland, So that's why I always, I tell artists all the time that are in Cleveland, and it's not to put Cleveland down. Everybody has a beginning and a launching pad. But, I tell artists that are coming up in the Cleveland area that if you want to stay local, you will stay local. You stay in Cleveland, because now artists have a bigger platform. You can record your music, you can do your videos, you got all this stuff, IG and all these tools that we didn't have back then. So there's no reason that if you have a great marketing team, promotional team, that your music should not blow up. So I'm still recording and I'm still doing music.
Could you describe the Atlanta music scene? Because I know at one time, Detroit, Motown, that was a movement. And then things moved out west. When you had hip hop launch, it was about New York, and artists couldn't get any respect as hip hop artists unless they were from New York. And now it seems like Atlanta is the place to be musically. And also the fact that you have a lot of collaboration and a lot of support among artists, whereas here in Cleveland, it seems as though there's a crabs in the barrel syndrome and a lot of hateration going on. Talk about the music scene in Atlanta.
Well, I think it shifted in the early 90s when Babyface came to Atlanta, and then he started discovering artists like Outkast, Goody Mob, Usher, and it kind of took off from there. Of course, he started with Tony Braxton, but I was in Cleveland then. But I would give that launching credit to LA and Babyface when they came down and they opened up LaFace Records. So then it's like just about every other artist from that point on starts saying, hey, I can do this and let's do this. And now you got the Migos. There's just so many artists here in Atlanta that are doing big things, especially on the hip hop scene, but not only the music, the movie industry is the A, baby. Just about every time you turn on TV, you're going to see, Tyler Perry got his big studios here. There's another young lady who I can't think of right now. She's about to lay out her big multi-acre studio as well, like Tyler Perry. And the jobs are here. If you have acting skills, you're a double threat if you got singing and acting skills. So it's just huge, man. It's really, really big. And I don't see it changing. It's going to be, Atlanta's just getting bigger and bigger on the movie and the music scene. Mega big.
Okay. So in terms of your music, you mentioned that you have a video that's coming out, and I know that you probably do performances also. What does your musical performance consist of? How is it configured?
Well, I've got some shows coming up just in time for the summer. So I've got an outdoor concert coming up in June. I'm going to be doing some smaller venues here in the Atlanta area. Basically, I consist of a 4-piece band: guitar, keys, bass, keyboards. 2 background singers. Of course, I do a lot of covers. I do a lot of Babyface and Maxwell and Anthony Hamilton, and you got to do covers, of course, and then I mix in my own stuff, to make sure that they get that part of me, my own music.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of your songwriting, do you just write lyrics? Do you write music? Do you use instruments to create your sound?
Okay, I don't play. Just let me be clear. I had somebody ask me the other day on my new joint, "Hey man, is that you playing guitar?" I said no, and they wanted me to use a guitar in my video. I was like, I'm not gonna fake the funk like that because I'm not a musician, but I'm a lyrical writer, arranger. There's a guy who decided he wanted to leave Cleveland and be here in Atlanta. Came down in 2012. His name is Gerald Mims.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
You know Gerald Mims.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote The Monkey Paw, or co-wrote The Monkey Paw, Gentle by Frederick, and so many other things. So he's doing big things down here. He's like, man, I'm so happy that you convinced me to move to the A, because his life has totally changed. So, of course, I bring Jerry in on my projects. He do arranging of my vocals. I mean, he's pretty much a genius. He can hear it all and know exactly where you're supposed to go. Excuse me. Know exactly where you're supposed to go in the song.
Okay.
So I've used him on my past couple of singles that I dropped. So I've got a new single out, and it's called "I Caught My Wife." So I wanted to get a little controversial. I've never had a controversial comedic ballad, if you will. So that's what it is. Because there's a genre down here that they call Southern Soul. It's pretty much blues. Blues is kind of shifted. I don't even know if there's really a true blues genre anymore. There's artists like Sir Charles Jones, Tucker, Pokey Bear, Nelly, Tiger, Travis, artists like that. And man, you go to their videos and they're banging out 2.2 million views. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to migrate into that area. So this is my transformation on this particular song. It's called "I Caught My Wife." And of course, it's available on all platforms right now. Please download it, stream it, Spotify, the deal, iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube, and all that. And we're going to be dropping the video on April 1st.
Okay. So, again, this hour has just flown by. We have learned that you have this full service radio station going. You got music projects jumping off, video to come, concerts to do this summer.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure that people know how to get in touch with you, but I'll let you enunciate that right now as the crawler goes across the screen. How can folks find Jeffree Charles if they're looking for him, and how can they get to your radio station?
Okay, of course, going across the screen, Jeffree Charles, JC Baby is IG, at Jeffree Charles, Twitter. Make sure and spell the Jeffree right, Jeffree. It's really weird because some years ago, my birth spelling is Jeffrey. I dropped the Y and added an E about 20 years ago, and it turned out to be the right thing because there's another Jeffree Charles who's a country artist. And so if you go to YouTube, you don't want to confuse me with him. But yeah, and I'm touchable, man. I'm reachable. Just drop me a line, inbox me, leave your phone number. I'll give you a call. You want to do some advertising on my station. If you want airplay on my station, just reach out to me.
Okay. Well, I'll attest to that because when I called you, you answered the phone and it only rang twice. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate you sharing your story with us on 95.9 FM, and I wish you nothing but success, and I will look forward to viewing your video and listening to that radio station. Trust and believe I'm going to be a subscriber. Thanks for joining us on Open Door.
Thanks, Vince.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you for listening. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your best day. Peace.